Hey, it's day 21, Saturday, January the 25th. I'm Pastor Cliff, the care pastor here. Spending time with our Heavenly Father is what I'm going to talk about this morning. You know, you'd think if Jesus was the Son of God, he wouldn't need to pray. Or at least he wouldn't need a specific prayer time because he'd be in such a constant contact or constant state of prayer. You'd expect him to have a direct line to his Heavenly Father. You would have thought Jesus could do a better job of tuning out the world. But surprisingly, Jesus seemed to need time with God just as much as we do. On the first day of his public ministry, the Gospel of Mark tells us Jesus rebuked and cast out a demon. He heals Peter's mother-in-law. Word gets out of what he has done, and soon a great crowd started to gather into the night, waiting for Jesus to heal them. At sunrise, Jesus wakes up. He makes his way out of town to a desolate place, and he prays. In fact, he's gone long enough that the disciples are looking for him, that's searching for him because the crowd is started to gather. Why does Jesus pray in the morning in a desolate place where he can't be interrupted? His life offers three thoughts. Thought number one, his identity. Whenever Jesus starts talking about his relationship with his Heavenly Father, Jesus becomes Christ-like, very dependent. The Son can do nothing of his own accord, John 5:19. I can do nothing of my own, John 5:30. I do nothing on my own authority, but speak just as the Father taught me, John 8:28. The Father who sent me has himself given me what to say and what to speak, John 12:49. Only a child will say, I only do what I see my Father is doing. When Jesus tells us to become like little children, he isn't telling us to do anything he isn't already doing. Jesus is, without question, the most dependent human being who ever lived. Because he can't do life on his own, he prays and he prays and he prays. Luke tells us that Jesus would withdraw to a desolate place and pray. When Jesus tells us that apart from me you can do nothing, he is inviting us into his life of a living dependency on his Heavenly Father. When Jesus tells us to believe, he isn't asking us to work up some spiritual energy. He's telling us to realize that, like him, we don't have the resources to do life alone. When you know that your life, just like Jesus, that you can't do life on your own, then prayer makes complete sense. He knows himself only in relationship with his Father. He can't conceive of himself outside of that relationship. He's dependent on his Father. Can you imagine asking Jesus how he's doing? He'd say, my Father and I are doing great. He has given me everything I need today. His prayer life is an expression of his relationship with his Father. He wants to be alone with the person he loves. Thought number two, his one-person focus. When Jesus interacts with people, he narrows his focus down to one person. When he encounters a lame man by the pool of Bethesda, he first sees a multitude, then he sees just him. In the midst of the multitude of blind and lame and paralyzed people, Jesus saw him lying there. When Jesus is with someone, that person is the only person in the room. Jesus slows down and concentrates on that one person. The way he loves people is identical to the way he prays to his Father. This one-person focus is how love works. Love incarnates by slowing down and focusing on that one person. We don't love in general. We love one person at a time. Thought number three, his limited humanity. The implication of Jesus' one-person focus is that the fully human Jesus doesn't multitask well. He needs to be away from people in order to tune into his Heavenly Father. Jesus could have concentrated on his Father while he healed people. He could have used his deity to protect himself from the slowness and inefficiency of life. When the bleeding woman interrupts him on the way to Jairus' house, Jesus could have healed her without stopping to connect with her as a person, but he doesn't. When he rejects Satan's temptation to turn the stone into bread, he rejects efficiencies and chooses love. So as a fully human being, he needs to get away and pray. When Jesus withdraws from the crowded house in Capernaum to a desolate place in the wilderness to pray, he's following his own advice from the Sermon on the Mount to go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father. From all eternity, he has been in relationship with his Father. He needs to concentrate on his Father. He wants to be with him so he gets alone to pray. There's no substitute for spending time. Jesus' example teaches us that prayer is about relationship. When he prays, he's not performing a duty, he's getting close to his Father. Any relationship, if it's going to grow, needs privacy and it needs space. It needs time together without an agenda where you can get to know each other. This creates an environment where closeness can happen, where we can begin to understand each other's hearts. We don't create intimacy, you make room for it. This is true whether you are talking about your spouse, your friend, or God. You need space to be together. Efficiency, multitasking, and busyness all kills intimacy. In short, you can't get to know God on the fly. If Jesus had to pull away from people and noise in order to pray, then it makes sense that we need to pray as well. So get away from the crowd and the busyness of life. Find a quiet time and just pray, anytime and any place.